What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down Mike Renner's 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. It is continuously being updated, but it is extremely 100% transparent, honest, and I back that up on my X page with all 22 clips. Feel free to go check that out through the link tree below. But let's get into this. Mike Renner, friend of the show, got to meet him in Mobile last year. Excited to see him again. If I'm just going to be completely honest, and it's on me, I did not realize he was writing for CBS Sports because we've been doing one of these every week, but not a Mike Renner one. So super excited for that. I was just kind of like perusing, seeing which ones I want to do, and like ended up realizing this is here. I'm like, okay, this is 6. So let's get into this, starting out with the number 1 overall pick. Of course, we'll have Mike on again in the offseason for another mock draft because Mike's a good dude. We got to make some fun memories there in Mobile. But the first overall pick is Cam Ward. Again, it kind of makes sense at this point. The Titans don't seem to be like fully in love with Will Levis. I mean, it's pretty obvious. People aren't in love with Will Levis. Sometimes you just got to scrap it and move on. Cam Ward, I think if he has success, awesome. If he fails and you guys are still in like the top 5 next year, there is like, you can kind of pull a Cardinals and then go back to the well and try to go again. So it might suck if this doesn't work out, but you also are in a position where you might not have the opportunity to pass it up based on your current situation. So I'm not the biggest Cam Ward guy on planet Earth. I think he has a lot of high-end arm talent, but I have my concerns over his processor, given how long he has played college football. But, he definitely is someone who can create a lot of plays just with his own talent. Doesn't have to be schemed. And so I do like the potential there. Plus, seeing Cam Ward in a Houston Oilers jersey, there's just something about that that's so beautiful. So I'd probably cop one of those. But at number 2, we got Abdul Carter going to the Cleveland Browns. He's a fantastic player. I'm surprised they have him ranked 8th. Like, I didn't realize that he was like that. But I would say he is incredible as a pass rusher. Best pass rusher in the class. I would just say I do have some concerns over his run defensibility. It's not like it's horrible, but again, for talking about a top 2 edge rusher, he is a little bit more focused on the DPR side of things, which I'd feel pretty comfortable in Cleveland accepting that and then just taking advantage of the actual assets that Abdul Carter has to his name. At pick 3, we got Travis Hunter going to the New York Giants. Giants are an organization with a lot of routes you can take at this spot. You could easily go Will Johnson if you believe in him more as a corner, but I mean, you could use Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball realistically, primarily as a corner, I assume, because that is far more of a in a rhythm position versus I think you could have a little bit more success moonlighting there at wide receiver. But I mean, he is certainly a fantastic player. If he does fail at both positions, I could totally see you guys pairing him up with Tyler Nubin in the secondary as a safety. And my dream for Travis Hunter is for him to be an Ed Reed, like Woodson type of free safety. And I would love that to death. Then at number 4, we got Will Campbell there to the Patriots. I'm just not a huge believer in Will Campbell as a true tackle for the Patriots. I see enough like hybrid type of offensive tackles on your team. You got Waynu, you got Caden Wallace as well. I thought Wallace should have been a guard. Like, I just think his skill set, spatial awareness fits better as a guard. But still, regardless, Will Campbell is a fantastic player. You're still going to be upgrading the offensive line. He would start over every other of the offensive linemen that you have. It just depends on how sold you are that the offensive line pieces you do have can still develop and improve. At number 5, you got Mason Graham going to the Jaguars. Not going to disagree with it at all. Mason Smith, Mason Graham, I mean, certainly would bring a lot of excitement to that front. But, I mean, this is beautifully said by Mike here. I was actually about to make this point because you guys, and this is why I love you guys to death, you guys have also pointed out a lot of the tendencies of the ownership, of the GM, etc. The arm length is a little bit of a concern for Mason Graham, and bulky is one of those that does focus on that arm length. So maybe we'd see Will Johnson here instead because of that, but we'll see. Honestly, we'll see if Trent Baalke is still there. I'm pretty sure on that Zoom call with Conn, he ended up talking about, with the owner, he ended up talking about the fact that technically could move on from him. We'll see what happens, though. At number 6, you got Shedeur going to Vegas. Tom Brady, I'm sure, would, love to be able to have a quarterback that you can mold. I'd prefer to go after someone like Sam Darnold at that point, because if I'm I'm just going to trust what Tom Brady thinks. If they go Shedeur Sanders at 6, I think there's going to be a heavy input from Tom, and if he believes in it and has that vision, I'm not going to criticize it. So I do think Shedeur Sanders is in that same tier as Cam Ward for a different reason, of course. I think it just depends if you're willing to roll the dice on someone for their ceiling versus you just want someone to be consistent with their floor, and that's what Shedeur Sanders kind of does. So I'm curious to see what they'll end up doing, but might end up saying that he doesn't have a top of the draft grade on Shedeur, and most people that I know, if you just ask them behind closed doors, they'll agree. So I think that's why, seeing him slip, it is very possible. Like, Cam Ward feels more top 10 pick E than Shedeur Sanders. I know it's not a very analytical term or something that sounds very professional, but it still is true. When you have that mental image in your head of a top 10 type of quarterback, not many of them are like Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion. Like, you don't think of Shedeur Sanders when you think of it. But regardless, the Raiders get their QB. At number 7, Kelvin Banks goes to the Jets. It's a move that I've made myself. I think he'd be a really solid, probably right tackle for them if they want to continue, if they want to put Olu Fashanu to left tackle. Even though I think Fashanu ended up playing some games at right and even right guard, so he might even be more comfortable in the NFL at the right side. But regardless, you have 2 really good offensive line pieces to be able to push around on your offensive line. At number 8, we got the Panthers going T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan. Really solid receiver. I mean, he's someone who has that game-breaking ability to him. I don't think he's an all-around receiver. Like, to me, if you're looking, you put the blindfold on, you throw a dart at the board, and that's the team who's drafting T-Mac, I think he'll be 40th on my board. But I ended up moving him up to 11th because I don't think there's going to be a team where he's being selected. There is a clear-cut role for him to play. He is not being selected as a BPA. He's not being selected as, we need a wide receiver. No, these teams will have the specified role. You don't take a player in the top 10 and just say, we'll find a role for you. No, you have a vision for a player like that. And so I'm going to actually take his top graded category, which is that red zone X type of build, and be able to apply that to his grade, which is why he's number 11 overall on my board. But regardless, he does have really solid hands. He had a higher uptick of drops this year, but to be fair, Noah Fafita was just YOLOing a ton of passes his way. I personally don't blame him. I think that the Panthers could get a lot of use out of this. I'd prefer Will Johnson myself, but T-Mac definitely would upgrade the receiving core. I would want a deep threat in there, but at the same time, you technically do have Xavier Legette, who should be kind of that build. But regardless, continuing on to pick number 9, we got Mykel Williams going to the Saints. He's improved so much this year, and I got to give him credit where credit is due. I just dropped an 83-minute video breaking down the edge rushers, the top 22. And there are a lot of players that still need to be in the list. Those are the guys who I have graded so far in terms of full grades. But Mykel was up there pretty damn high. He is, I believe, 26th or 27th on my board. He is 25th. I lied. He's 25th overall on my board. A really, really good player. And yeah, I have a lot of guys above him that are insane, but I'm also insane about a lot of players. And I'm perfectly happy with him going at pick 9. I did it myself. He's done such a good job. But yeah, feel free to go check out that video because I actually end up breaking down a game report for every single one of these players. Shout out to James Foster, by the way, of A to Z, well, formerly A to Z Sports, but now 33rd Team. He ended up giving me actually some good feedback, which is why I love being able to have people like James in my life that are very honest with me. He was actually coaching me up on what read steps were, which, I have an understanding of a read step, but I didn't apply it as much as I should. And I ended up actually criticizing players a little bit too much. And I do appreciate guys like him for being able to maybe reach out in an uncomfortable way, because it's not always easy to tell people that. And, again, really respect the fact that he did that. But regardless, Mykel Williams did a fantastic job. And this year developing, especially when he got healthy, and he ended up really shining towards the end of the year. I can't really see the Saints disregarding him as a legit option. At 10, we got the Bears going Ashton Jeanty. It's a pick I've made a few times. It's going to ruffle some feathers of Bears fans, but if you don't believe in the offensive tackles the way, or believe in them so much that you might get good value in round 2, Ashton Jeanty will help out your team a ton. And Ashton Jeanty is going to be an absolute stud. NFL history says these guys go around this range, and so it's a realistic pick for sure. At pick 11, we got the Niners going James Pierce Jr. James Pierce is phenomenal. I got to see if the Niners bring on players of this physical archetype at 243. This past offseason, if I'm not mistaken, they brought in primarily players who are 260, like around that 260 mark, like maybe 255 plus. So I'd be intrigued to see them with a player like James Pierce, but I would be far from against it because he's a fantastic edge rusher. At pick 12, Josh Connerly goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's read this right here. Josh Connerly's shot up boards because of the season. I mean, he was a running back freshman year of high school, so freak athlete. Big fan of Josh Connerly, by the way. Super young too. Junior has always had NFL caliber athletic tools, but now they're getting to put into action. That's a combination everyone's looking for in the draft. I do wish I could understand the vision for Josh Connerly, whether he's going to be the right tackle, whether you're moving Tyler Guyton to right tackle and keeping Josh Connerly at left. Are you going to put Josh Connerly to guard once? No, there's some Brock Hoffman love out there, but do you want to potentially, put him over Brock Hoffman for when Zach Martin tries to dip? I would love to see the vision there before I actually make a bigger comment on it, but Josh Connerly's a great player. I mean, if he goes in the top 15, I'm not going to complain at all. He was my number 32 pick via a trade-up with New England in my last mock draft. At pick 13, we have Malachi Starks going to the Miami Dolphins. Makes sense. I mean, Swiss Army knife, replacing Javon Holland. Kind of is just one of those picks that you just, plug and play, man. It just makes sense. Will Johnson slips to pick 14, going to the Indianapolis Colts. It certainly could be injury that ends up dropping him, but we'll see if the turf toe ends up being a bigger issue for the long run. I hope it's not. I pray to God it's not. You guys know what I think of Will Johnson. I think he is a truly special talent, but if he ends up falling to 14, I'd honestly pray that my Steelers would find a way to trade up and get him, because I think that'd be a ridiculous combo of JPJ and Will Johnson. But regardless, Will Johnson to the Colts would just be BPA. It's the right thing to do. KG goes to the Atlanta Falcons. They could be looking for a one tech right there, or zero. I really do like the idea of Kenneth that knows. It would make sense to be able to develop him as well. I'd be intrigued to see the vision for it, but at the same time, I do have if you're looking for instant impact, KG is, in my opinion, not your guy, but he is a really damn good player, especially if you value motor on a player, if you value longer term impact. Kenneth Grant is the type of guy that you want to bring on. So I'd love to see how this would end up playing out, but I can guarantee you, I don't think Terry Fontenot would be able to keep it, or I don't think the ownership would be very happy with how this team's being ran if there's another year of relative disappointment, because you don't want to continue bringing on guys who are developmental when you're kind of on the hot seat, because guys are already being fired. Then at pick 16, you got Derek Harmon going to the Arizona Cardinals. Harmon has done a fantastic job this year, declared for the draft, so it's official. Super high upside, someone who I have graded as more of a day 2 kind of player for me, but still a very, very good day 2 player. It's a position of need. I think that it makes sense. You get solid value here as well. So I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever if it does happen. At 17, Coulson Leveln goes to the Bengals. This is literally Mike Gesicki 2.0. So it makes sense. I mean, I would prefer to go after Warren, but for the Bengals specifically and the tight ends that they look at, this makes a lot more sense schematically. So yeah, even though I do have Coulson Leveln as a tight end 3, I'm sure that you guys ended up seeing when I scrolled down who my tight end 2 is, and you guys will be seeing over the next day or two when I end up actually dropping my tight end rankings too. Kind of ridiculous. So I'm trying to go overdrive until we get to the Senior Bowl and then kind of go maintenance from there. But Coulson Leveln to the Bengals, do I think it's going to be the most impactful move? No, but do I think it's certainly a move that could end up helping out the team if you end up addressing the draft over the rest of the draft differently? Yes. If you do it effectively, Coulson Leveln could be a really good pick in retrospect. At 18, the Seattle Seahawks go Arman Meebo. he can end up playing guard for you in the short run and then end up moving out to tackle. I want to see if that is going to be like, I'm very curious. So his frame projects very well to guard at the next level. That's where the Seahawks are desperate to help. So this is actually going to be a guard pick. Okay. So yeah, I was going to say, if you do have continual issues with Abe Lucas and his health, you could also kick Arman Meebo out in short term to right tackle until he gets healthy. I do like that flexibility there. Honestly, it might be something I start deploying in my own mock drafts. Luther Burton goes at pick 19 to the Denver Broncos. I mean, I just realized that when they're tossing the ball to Marvin Mims behind the line of scrimmage, I'm like, dude, let that guy be someone that you like attack the deep part of the field with more than the screen guy. Luther Burton was just built to be in that role yesterday, or 2 days ago. It was built for Luther Burton to thrive in. And so I really do think this would be a massive win for both Burton as well as the Broncos. Jihad Campbell goes to the Buccaneers. I want to see, does Mike think that Jihad Campbell could be an edge rusher here? Who can rush the passer the way Campbell did? Okay, let's see. Yep, 11.5 tackles. Okay, hybrid player. So at least there's acknowledgement of Jihad Campbell being a legitimate potential pass rushing upside player. I think he should be an edge. He was the number 1 edge in his high school class, moved to linebacker because of the quantity of dudes at Bama in that edge core. I really do think that no one times the snap better than Jihad Campbell. I ended up, of course, breaking this down far more in my video. Again, 83 minutes long. If you guys want a deep dive of the majority of this class that you need to know, check it out. We'll be doing up to 40 by the end of it, which is going to be like a 2-hour video. It's going to be nuts, but let's lament that when we get there. At number 21, we have the Steelers going Acha Abuka. I think the Steelers could, we have just notoriously been able to get value at wide receiver outside of round 1. But if we end up getting Acha Abuka, dude, just getting some consistency is not going to be a bad thing whatsoever. He's just a damn solid receiver. He's right there in my top 40. Just a really reliable player. So I like it a lot. Acha Abuka. If it does happen, it's all right, I'm going to just not complain at this point. So Acha Abuka goes to the Steelers there. At 22, Jaylen Walker goes to the Los Angeles Rams. That would be interesting. That would be insane because I think he's going to play a linebacker. I'm curious on or off the line of scrimmage. So yeah, I mean, he would be a freak for blitz packages. I think they could use him as an every down linebacker and use him as a blitzer and an edge rusher in certain packages. That would be, I didn't think about that because I love him as a linebacker. As you can see, I have Jihad Campbell and Jaylen Walker. I have my opinions of them pretty much flipped from the consensus. I think Jaylen's a linebacker, but can play edge. And he could start at edge too. But man, that is interesting. For the Rams, I haven't thought about it because he never gets there. So, I'll take note of that. Tyler Warren goes to the Chargers. They need tight end. They need blocking help. They need interior offensive line help too, though. That offensive line was pretty buns. But pretty disappointing end of the season. I could say the same about the next team right here. But Tyler Warren, I mean, physical, Big Ten, feels like a Harbaugh guy. I know that right now. My guy Mike definitely agrees. At 24, we got Jahdae Barron to the Packers. I mean, he is just a super smart corner. For me, I like him more potentially shifted to the slot or at least on the boundary in zone. He's sub 6 foot. I've heard he has short arms. I don't know how he fits with Jeff Hafley. I don't trust it because Hafley, from everything that I've been told by Boston College fans and from what I've seen, he loves physicality and he loves man coverage ability as well. And I don't trust Jahdae in man-to-man at the NFL level with the frame he has. I think you need to play to his skill set. In my opinion, that skill set is really, really, really solid as a primary zone corner. And so the Steelers, if you want to put him into the slot or just have him off, I think that works really well because he does have that physicality as well. I think that if you put him into a system that has the vision for the best for JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., because I thought of the zone IQ as well as just the overall awareness of the game. I thought of it in a very similar light. Now, I'm not saying that the defense is perfectly cookie cutter for him, but I'm just saying there are some teams that I think would play to his skill set a little bit better than Jeff Hafley would. But that's also because I love guys like Azariah Thomas, Trey Amos, etc. Walter Nolan then goes to the Texans at 25. Knowlton's explosive. Oh, there we go. Look at that. I didn't even read that. It's probably like my mind subprocessed it, but he's explosive. He's a good player. I have him a little bit lower than the consensus, but at the same time, if he goes in the first, I'm not going to lose my marbles, especially if he goes to the Texans. They need it. He's a good player. I'm going to move on from it. Mike Green goes at pick 26. Surprising to see that he's ranked 85th for CBS, but he has 17 sacks on the year. The dude is absolutely fire. I ended up, I'm posting a couple shorts as well. I'm testing out some AI short makers, and it's probably not going to end up going as, it probably won't be a long-term thing based on, how much shorts pay versus how much those things cost. But regardless, Mike Green will be one of the ones featured in the shorts, but he's also, of course, featured in the 83 whole ass minutes of that video, so that I break down all the edge class. He is my edge 12. But he is also somebody who is top 75 on my board. He's a very good edge rusher. He's a very good athlete. And I think I just need to see his game translate a little bit more. I'm a little bit worried about him in run defense at the NFL level. But I would love to see how Dan Quinn works with Mike Green. Shamar Stewart goes at pick 27 to the Baltimore Ravens. I ended up talking about this in my video as well. He's my edge 16. And I know that's just nuts. I owe you guys honesty. But Shamar is one of the freakiest athletes at 6'6", 290. I just think he is unbelievably raw. Do I think the Ravens could train him to develop him properly? Potentially. I haven't seen legitimate rookies take massive steps as edge rushers on the squad, but, I do think that it could be worth it. I could see it. And so I'd be a little bit afraid as a Steelers fan because, our offensive tackles could get eviscerated by, we're already getting destroyed by Myles Garrett. Do I think Shamar Stewart is of that level? Absolutely not. But I do think that, we do have an issue with athletic, large edge rushers. And so it could be a problem for us, and it might be a good matchup for him to be in the AFC North. At 28, Donovan Jackson goes to the Minnesota Vikings. I wonder if he's going to be trying to push to be a true tackle in the NFL. He ended up pretty much allowing, I think, one pressure in the entire postseason so far. So that's pretty awesome, but Donovan Jackson still is a fantastic offensive lineman. He was one of the guys who I loved off the get-go. He's number 19 on my board. Of course, that is from preseason as well, and he's developed even more, and he's become a left tackle since then, so I'm super excited to be able to give him a regrade and see exactly where I think he is. Scorton goes at pick 29 to the Bills. He is my number 21 player on my board. I'm a big fan of him. Players like this do usually slip just because of the size. The last time we saw this was, not the last time, but the time that comes to mind is George Karlaftis, who I ended up having, even higher than Nick Scorton, and he ended up falling to this range. So it certainly is possible, and I think the Bills would be absolutely ludicrous to pass on him there at 29. We got David Walker to the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 30. Interesting. So David Walker has a ton of tape, and he has a lot of success there for Central Arkansas. I personally would not take David Walker. That's my type. But so they're talking about Walker replacing BG. It'd be an interesting vision for it, and I wonder if rather than him actually being a first round pick, this is more so a talking piece. Like if you can get David Walker day 3, because that's where I have him right now. Of course, I haven't updated it since last year. David Walker will be part of my top 40 edge rushers when I end up dropping that post-combine, post-senior bowl. But, when I first watched him, I thought he was good. Did not get first-round vibes, but he's had a lot of really good tape. So I could see if you guys end up really falling in love with him, some team might be willing to take a swing on him higher than I think. Then you got Jared Ivey at pick 31 to the Chiefs. I think that Spag is going to love Jared Ivey. I had Jared Ivey as my edge 22. I think he has some awesome quick wins on tape. The majority of them that I was hoping to see versus tackles actually ended up being versus tight ends. I don't think he's a great athlete. He is 285. So for 285, he's not bad at all. But I do have some concerns with Jared Ivey. I do have him rated as a draftable prospect, but not. I wish I loved him as a first round player. I really wish I did. He's been a fantastic college edge rusher, though. And I hope I'm wrong. Like, players I'm lower on, I really do hope I'm wrong. But ending off this draft, we have Jack Sawyer going to the Detroit Lions. I mean, it just feels like the perfect system fit, the perfect culture fit. The dude is just built to be with Dan Campbell. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side. Peace.